Hi, this is Sarah Mikesell with the Pig Site, and today we're here with Dr. R. Dean Boyd. He's a consultant with Animal Nutrition Research LLC, and Dr. Aaron Gaines, who's a managing partner at Anatech LLC. So thanks to you guys both for being with me. I really appreciate it. And today, Dr. Boyd, Dr. Gaines, and I are in Omaha, Nebraska at the Midwest ASAS meeting. And you guys both spoke today at the U.S. Soy-sponsored Swine Application Symposium. And I want to just start off with some questions, and we're going to start with you, Dr. Boyd. During your presentation, you focused on 4 specific soybean meal-related pillars. Can you describe what those pillars are?
Sure. As we unearthed the private sector data and studied it, we came into 4 distinct categories of new information. The first category was the energetic value was wrong, and we discovered that in a commercial situation, it's much higher. The second thing was that, a little bit to our surprise, is that if one truly wants maximum growth, maximum feed conversion, you're going to have a certain amount of soybean meal. The third one is kind of a historical and an older one where we learned truly by accident, and this happened with Aaron Gaines as well, that when one is faced with a PRRS challenge, there's a tremendous downgrade in terms of their ability to grow and convert feed. However, if one has a higher level of soy, it can largely mitigate that. And the final one has to do with summer carcass weight dip. And soybean has to play a key role there in being present. and then, but the main issue there is that DDGs at the level we use them undermines growth. And so if you want maximum growth, you're going to have to control the DDGs and be more mindful of the growth maximizing effect of soybean.
Very good. And we're going right into that question. You showed a minimum soybean meal curve to maximize growth for grow-finished pigs, and then showed how diet DDGs can undermine that objective. Why does that happen?
Well, to be quite honest with you, we were taken back when we realized, using data we've had for over 10 years, that the level of growth that you can achieve in a diet depends on not only the nutrient levels, but also the level of this particular ingredient. But we also learned, quite by accident, that as you increase soy to get maximum gain feed conversion, that if you use DDGs at a certain level, it undercuts it. And there's no way of getting maximum gain.
Got it. You also mentioned during your presentation that maximum growth expression cannot be achieved without a certain soybean meal level in the diet. Why is that?
Well, we're not sure, but we're bold enough to make a hypothesis. First of all, here's a stunner. As hard as the geneticists work to get genetic improvement in a clean, healthy commercial operation, only 28 to 32% of the genetic capacity can be expressed. Now, we learned that we could increase that percentage with right amount of soybean, and we think it has nothing to do with the nutrients. We think it has everything to do with the functional components in it, which are abundant, are health promoting. So.
Got it. And our last question for you, why are the energy values in pig diets higher in commercial diets versus NRC levels?
Well, first of all, the NRC levels on net energy basis have been off for some time.
Right.
And we learned that back in 2002 that something wasn't quite right. But when we went to the commercial setting and determined the energy there, we found that the apparent value of soybean in terms of energy was 30% higher than it is in more of an academic setting. And that doesn't mean the net energy was miscalculated. Again, we're proposing that it's probably that components in soybean are suppressing things that cause energy to be used inefficiently, so more energy is available for growth. We think the soybean doesn't really have more energy. It's that components in it help the diet itself to be used to a greater extent, that energy.
Very good. And 30% is significant.
It is. It is. And Aaron's kind of been a leader on monitoring that. We learned that back in 2009, the night before ASS abstract. And I had miscalculated. And so I realized it wasn't 78% of corn, it was 109. My talk the next morning on energy of soybean was a very short talk.
Sometimes research does that, right?
That's right.
Very
That's
good.
right.
Very good. Well, we'll switch over to you, Dr. Gaines. Given these foundational learnings from Dr. Boyd, how should swine nutritionists be formulating their swine diets? What does that look like in practice? For instance, what energy value should be used for soybean meal in commercial practice, and how do you implement it in formulation?
Well, some of the new information on soybean meal energy value, what we've seen is nutritionists have increased the energy value of soybean meal. About 2 years ago, we did an industry survey, and in that survey, we found that industry nutritionists had increased the energy value of soybean meal to about 97%.
Okay.
So we had about half the industry using 97% the value of soy. If you go through the calculations, that Dean's went through on a dry matter basis, and you convert those to an as-fed basis, soybean meal is going to be drier than corn typically. And if you do that calculation on an as-fed basis, you're going to find that the energy value of soybean meal is about 102.5% the energy value of corn on an as-fed basis. And so when you make those adjustments to the soybean meal energy value, it's not as just simple as just going into formulation and increasing the energy value of soybean meal. You got to make adjustments to things like lysine to calorie ratio or phosphorus to calorie ratio to make sure that you're not penalizing soybean meal for the amount of lysine per unit of energy or the amount of phosphorus per unit of energy.
Very good. And for late finishing pigs, what's the minimum percent of soybean meal for maximum growth expression? Does diet type matter?
Yeah, that late finishing pig, we've really struggled for about the last 20 years getting real aggressive on displacing too much soybean meal. And what we find is that we don't really want to go less than 8% soybean meal in that late finishing pig diet, regardless of diet type, whether it's a corn soy diet or a corn soy distillers diet. And typically distillers levels are going to be at pretty low levels late finishing because of the impact on carcass yield as well as iodine value.
Good, very good. In the summer months, what formulation adjustments should be considered to mitigate carcass weight dip? When should a nutritionist make those adjustments?
Yeah, some of the adjustments you need to be thinking about as it relates to the summer carcass weight dip goes back to what Dean talked about with dry distillers grains, not getting too aggressive with dry distillers grains, particularly with these low oil distillers. Recent research in both the university and commercial setting, we're finding reduced performance due to reductions in feed intake with these low oil distillers.
Right.
So if you're using distillers, you really need to understand your source and be conservative on how much you're using. We're not advocating to take them completely out per se, but in some cases the economics may tell you to take them out, but there are some advantages from a gut health standpoint by having some minimum level in the diet, say 5 to 10% as an example. The other big one is soybean meal level, of having a minimum level of soybean meal in there that maximizes growth performance of those animals. If you don't want to set a minimum soybean meal level, we provide some guidance on L-lysine max. It's kind of a proxy for minimum soybean meal level as well.
And when do you have to start that?
Well, we're into March right now. You really need to start those diets back in February on your late nursery pig placements because those pigs are going to be marketing in June. And so we really want to concentrate on pigs that are being marketed in June, July, August, and September when carcass weight or carcass value is the highest.
Yeah, you get that heat stress coming in, especially then, right?
Yep, exactly.
Very good, very good. Are there other benefits of implementing summer diets?
Yeah, the nice thing about the summer diet strategy is those diets can be leveraged for swine respiratory disease. And right now, the industry is getting hammered with swine respiratory disease. So those diets can be leveraged across those pig flows that are having issues with swine respiratory disease. One of the things that Dean's brought up is those diets are a good starting point, but perhaps maybe we even need to go higher in soybean meal level than those summer carcass weight dip formulation strategies.
Very good. And my last question is for both of you. I'll start with Aaron. As you think about all the information you shared today, what was the most important key takeaway for swine nutritionists? Dr. Gaines?
Well, I think if you look at the energy value of soybean meal, for the most part, most nutritionists have already made that adjustment.
Right.
But kind of given where we're at in time of year, we're sitting here in March, going into really high pig prices, nutritionists really need to be thinking about their summer diet formulation strategy to maximize carcass weight, just given the value of pigs going into the summer months.
Very good. And Dr. Boyd, what's your key takeaway?
Well, I'll expand a little bit if you don't mind. The key takeaway, it has to do with the fact you can't eliminate soy, and you can't take it to very low levels without it costing you both in gain, feed conversion, lean percent, and dollars and cents. When we brought 4 amino acids to the market, including tryptophan and threonine, that was fine. But when DDGs appeared, the combination of that with the 4 amino acids brought soybean to levels that I hadn't ever seen. And I learned in a hard way that if I wanted to maximize gain to avoid or minimize summer dip, that wasn't working. And we had to get a better balance. And that's the big take-home message. You have to have a proper balance if you want maximum gain.
Good. Excellent. Well, thank you both. I really appreciate your time today and all the information. It's a lot to take in, but a great conference and great symposium today. Thanks so much. I do appreciate it.
Okay.
This is Sarah Meixel with the Pig Site.